Hey guys, it's the One Piece TCG fan. Welcome to the channel. I got back from the Peoria regionals, my very first regionals, and I decided to make a quick video on this as a retrospective as to what I learned, and also a quick little look at the experience. I didn't take too much video. I was very locked in on playing, but really I just wanted to share with you all what I learned, as well as be able to kind of look back on what I experienced. Well, anyways, let's just get into it. I'm rambling now. So this is kind of what I'll be going over in this video. Hopefully all of these things will be useful to you and something I can look back on. And I guess just a quick introduction. My real name is Shin, and I've been playing the One Piece TCG for about 4 months now. I love this game. I'm so in love with this game. It's all I think about after work, and I just want to see how good of a player I can become. I've basically only played OP12 Green Zoro because Zoro is my favorite character from the show, and I love how the deck plays. I live on the West Coast, but I decided to go to Peoria because I thought it was basically just going to be a little bit more likely that I would make it through a 1,000-person wait list as opposed to a 500-player wait list, which is what Pasadena was. Pasadena was much closer to me, but I am glad I made the decision to go to Peoria because I saw on socials that people were not able to make it into the Pasadena main event with trying to waitlist, and I was able to waitlist into the Peoria event with plenty of spots still open to go. I must admit, flying in, I had forgotten what -1 degree weather felt like, and it is bone-chillingly cold. But what was actually really heartwarming was seeing all these players getting reps in the hotel lobby, and I gotta admit, I had a really hard time sleeping. I was nervous, excited, second guessing myself, trying to pump myself up, and walking into the venue, it was pretty cool. Like, nothing fancy, just the rows of tables and a handful of vendor booths, but you can feel the conversations and just the energy in the air. Everyone was tense and everyone was locked in. So here's the quick look at the deck list that I ran at Peoria. Very, very standard deck list. I'd say the only quote spice would be the one coin I took out for the 9-cost Zoro. The 9-cost Zoro I thought would give me some free cheap wins if I saw him on curve and I was ahead enough, or perhaps be able to kind of get me back into a game in certain situations. It did help me in one game. Otherwise, it was not really a big factor. But yeah, very, very standard list. I don't think anyone is surprised if you know the Green Zoro matchup or the lists at all. This is about as standard as it comes. So here were my matchups. One thing to note was that unlike many regionals, this is the last one prior to Nat. So a lot of players already had their invites, and that was kind of being well known, widespread throughout the floor. And so a lot of players were playing it out all the way to the end, as opposed to dropping after 2 or 3 losses and just going to play sides, because you had the chance to bubble up potentially if a lot of the people in Top Cut already had their invites. So to talk about my matchups here, my first round I had a blue-purple Luffy. I was not expecting to see one of these, and it's been a very long time since I played against a blue-purple Luffy. I won the dice roll. I took first and I won the match, but I think I should have actually taken second in retrospect. They ramped really fast. They got to 8 so fast, but then they kind of just low rolled after that. They didn't have the Sanji plays that they were looking for, and basically I just did Zoro things and killed them with a restand event very, very quickly. My second match was a red-blue ace, and I lost the die roll. They decided to go first, so I knew they knew the matchup a little bit more intricately than someone who blind goes second, thinking that ace always wants to go second to play on curve. However, my opponent kind of low rolled to start, but then he hit me with a pudding from hell. This Charlotte pudding made me draw into, well, let's just say it was basically a loss from then on out. Every swung hit. I couldn't counter out of anything, and I couldn't play anything either. There was no more searching, no Tashigas. Anyway, it was very bad. Third round, I played against a black emu. I won the die roll, and so I felt very confident going into it. However, this match really, this match is actually the one that is etched most into my head, because after the loss, I looked through my deck, and all 4 Tashigi and all 4 of my restand events were in the last 13 cards of the deck. And basically, I was never going to play those cards. And I lost really handedly. And, you low roll from time to time, but this was about as low of a roll as I've ever had. And this one really made me rethink my entire Peoria strategy in general, but we'll get to that a little bit later. 4th round, I played against a green Zoro. I did win the dice roll, however, I lost the match. My opponent basically high rolled me. He had 3 Tashigi and 2 Law, and I had a Tashigi, and that was it. So I lost relatively handedly there. Actually, though, given the way that it played out, had I saw at least a second Tashigi and 1 Law combo, I think I would have actually won, but it is what it is. And then my 5th round, very funny. I sat down and put out my mat, put out my Dawn and my leader. I was shuffling my cards, and some person came up. They looked at my leader. They looked at the table number, and then they looked at the table number, looked a little bit confused, looked down at my leader, and then looked at their phone and then walked away. So I'm not sure if they were at the right table, or they just saw that it was Zoro and thought to themselves, like, I don't want to play this. Either way, it was a quick no-show. And during this portion of time, I actually went outside. It was about, I believe, 19 degrees out. I was just trying to get some fresh air. And I gotta say, Midwestern folks are built different. There was a man who was just there in a t-shirt smoking a cigarette. And I had to ask him, like, my man, are you not cold? And he looks at me dead in the eye and says, yeah, this one's pretty uncomfortable, but I got to get my nicotine, And I said, I feel you. Anyways, I got some fresh air as much as I could stand when it was that cold, and I just walked back in and waited for my 6th round. My 6th round was against a red-green chopper. It came very, very close. My opponent knew this match very, very well. I put a dice roll loss here. I actually won the dice roll, but I didn't know if I wanted to go first or second. And so I went second. Typically, when I don't know the matchup, I'll just roll the die again. And if it comes up odd, I'll take first. And if it comes up second, or rather, if it comes up even, I'll take second. It came up second, oh my goodness, it came up even, so I took second. And I came very, very, very close to losing. I think it was 1 card away. My opponent, she was very, very competent with this deck, and but she was very kind in letting me know how the matchup kind of plays afterwards, and discussed a little bit with me. So shout outs to her in the event. I suppose if she ever watches this video, I very much doubt it. Okay, so 7th match, I played against a red-blue ace, and I lost the dice roll. And then I lost the match as well. And in this game, the very first time I saw Tashigi was on my 10 Dawn turn. Or yeah, basically on my 10 Dawn turn, it was my top deck there. And I was very, very low on life by then. And so I really wasn't able to catch back up. And so that was a loss. My 8th round was against a black emu. And you can see here, I lost the dice roll. However, I was able to win the match. Basically just kind of saw the pieces I needed to see, and I had the Koshiros I required for his emus, or rather for his Mars plays, and I was able to keep pressure on board, and I had a couple restands events at the end to close things out. So and basically actually how now I'm starting to remember this a little bit more. The final swing that actually killed him was 3 attached to Perona for a 5. So anyhow, it came down to the last card. He had 1 card in hand, and I knew that it was an equilibrium. He had no Dawn up, and so I knew that the last swing with Perona would go through because his blockers were down. Anyways, it was a fun match, and it actually went the distance. So I would say my 8th round opponent was one where at least I felt like the games played out where we both actually played a match. And then my last round was against a purple Luffy, where I won the dice roll. I know I'm supposed to go first in this, and then he didn't seem all that well versed in playing against Zoro, because he was saving his blockers, countering out for his blockers and taking life. And then basically I killed him really, really quickly. So not sure if he was a little bit newer perhaps, but anyhow, that was a relatively easy win for me. And so ultimately, when I look back at it, I won 50% of my dice rolls. You really can't ask for more than that. And I I went X4 for the day. So that was effectively how my matchups went. So, here's kind of what I learned into going into Peoria. I mean, I was really confident going into Peoria initially because I had a crazy run at my local treasure cups where I think I went like 20-4 or something like that. It was nuts, but basically I won or 27. Anyways, I did very well during my treasure cup weeks. All my cards were playing out perfectly. I was able to bait what I needed to bait. I was playing well, and so I felt really confident. However, the week right before I went to Peoria, I was getting destroyed, just absolutely bodied every night. I could not win for the life of me. There was one night that I went X3 and my only win for the evening was the bye. And so it was really humbling, but I guess in my head, I thought, you know what? I had such a great treasure cup week the week before that, maybe this past week, it's not so bad. Like it had such great luck then, bad luck now. I should be able to go to Peoria with, relatively decent luck. But ultimately, what I learned over 9 rounds is that consistency is key. 100% you are going to get high rolled. When I think about the game I played against Zoro, I mean, I had some searches, I had some, I was able to get a Tashigi, I played out, I believe a Cavendish in that match as well. I was playing out some cards. I was never just dead in the water. However, he had 3 Tashigi and 2 Law, and he just high rolled me. That's going to happen. You cannot help if someone high rolls you and you don't have a high roll answer back. However, you will low roll as well. That game against Black Emu, my 3rd round, where all 4 of my restand and all 4 of my Tashigi were in the bottom 13 cards of the deck, that will happen too. And so I realized because you cannot help getting high rolled, you can only help your chances at low rolling. 3 games I lost to low rolling. The game where I had all 4 Tashigi and all 4 restand in the bottom 13. A game where I saw basically 1 Tashigi compared to, I guess I can't necessarily call that a low roll, but another match against an ace where I had my first Tashigi on 10. And so that's pretty low rolly. And so when I think about the fact that even out of 10 rounds, if you low roll 3 times, you're basically already out of the top cut. And so you need a build that will allow you to remove one of those low roll games. I didn't play the Mihawk Zoro combo once this entire weekend. I didn't high roll anyone to get my wins. I just played solid One Piece, and where the cards would let me, I was able to get my wins. And I don't recall any major misplays. I don't recall ever making a swing and thinking, oh, I should have taken that back, or I should have swung for more. The games where I had low rolled, I tried the best I could and I just couldn't get there. In the games where the cards let me win, I was able to maximize. And so the biggest lesson I did learn is, again, consistency is the key. So this is what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to be going back to an East Blue Nami version of the deck, somewhere between 2 to 4 Nami. And I figure 2 at least to start. Given that I'm already playing 8 searchers, another 2 would mean I'm going to 10, and with 10 searchers, if I was to see them all, I would see the entire deck, right? Going 50 cards deep. So I want to start at 2, and I think it's going to actually make a huge difference. The cards I'm going to start taking out to compensate for those East Blue Namis are going to be the 6-cost Law and then potentially the 5-cost Cavendish. And I'll be taking out the X-Drakes for Hachan 2Ks. The X-Drake I played once for its resting effect, and it didn't even win me the game. So I think just a searchable 2K is far better. So I'll be doing that. And I'm going to start testing this version against the new OP14 decks on the sim, see how it goes. And ultimately, if I just do not think I can make Green Zoro work in the OP14 meta, I'll likely switch to Mihawk. But quite frankly, I think Mihawk is a super bricky deck. You only place 4 searchers right now in the current builds. So you're basically top decking or mulliganing for everything and hoping for curve. I especially after my Peoria experience, I don't think that's the kind of deck I would want to play. You could easily win a locals high rolling 4 times and going 4-0, but I think if you want to win or get into the top cut of a 9 or 10 round event, you're going to need at the very least 10 searchers from what I've at least experienced in my very first local. Of course, I'm coming to you from a point of view of just one of one, right? So this is what I've kind of been thinking for iteration 1. I'm going to be taking out the 9 cost Zoro. It does allow for some cheap wins, but it literally only came up once during my 9 rounds in Peoria. And so I think every time I had it in hand and couldn't have played it, if it was a Nami Searcher instead, it would have 100% made a difference in the matchups that I was playing. Even in the ones that I won, I would have won faster, let's say, right? I think if I'm taking out 1 Law. I had several games where I had multiple Law in hand, and given that they're 1 bricks and 2, it's a 2-piece combo, I think taking 1 out is still relatively safe. And then we'll see if 2 Nami does not allow me to have, you can kind of see my thoughts here. If I have an average of 3 or more games in 10, that I don't see a Tashigi, I'm going to remove 1 more Cavendish to up the Nami to 3. And then if that still doesn't cut it, I'm going to have to really think about what I would cut to go to 4 Nami. But I love that in the current state, Nami allows you to find both Tashigi and Koshiro. So those are the 2 key pieces that you need to fight Imu, our worst matchup. And then extra looks at Tashigi is always going to help when you fight Ace. The only thing that sucks about Nami is if you happen to see a bunch of restand events in your search and they have to get bottom decked. So that is the huge mega low roll con that could happen. But I think I would much rather just see if I can find Tashigi's along the way. And that's kind of where I'm thinking. So while my results were disappointing, I was really hoping that I could get my invite to Nats. I did learn a lot in Peoria. I had a lot of fun with my friends, even though it was -1 degrees at night. And ultimately, I'm really hoping I can make Zoro work. I will 100% be in Las Vegas for Bandai Card Fest, and I already have an entry into the Last Chance Quals. So I know I need to go X2 that day to make it through the main event, and I'm going to need to focus on building a really consistent strategy. Going 7-2 is something that my current build will not allow. And so, well, let's not say not allow. I could high roll everybody. The person in grand finals of Peoria was a Zoro. And various players who had played him around me inside events were telling me that they just got super high rolled. And Zoro can do that. I mean, I did that during my Treasure Cup week, right? It was just his day. However, if you want to, I'm starting to see, at the very least after 1-of-1 experience, consistency is what I need to try and go to the top tables. So that's what I learned at Nationals. If you're there, I hope to see you there. Maybe you'll tell me by the sound of my voice, or I don't know, maybe I'll do a face reveal prior to the event. If that's even something people care about. Really, I think most people just want to see Zoro gameplay, so I think from here on out, I'm going to be testing a lot of my Zoro in OP14, because that is going to be what's going to be played at Nationals, and there's no more regional events to play. I will still post 1 ranked game a day in OP12, just because I want to stay consistent with that. And see how high I can rank, at least in terms of 1 season. But I will be grinding heavily in the OP14 meta with this version of Zoro to see if I can make it happen. And those will be some pretty long form videos. I may not have as many thoughts, but I'll give it my best shot. Anyways, that's the video for today. Oh my goodness, this ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But hopefully you learned something. I certainly learned a lot. And if I see you at Nats, I will see you at Nats. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great one. Bye-bye.